Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Armour's Four-Legged Life.
Pause up, pet pals. Welcome to the Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Hey, guess what? We're going to go to the dogs, D-O-G-S. Yes, in a double delightful way. We have not one, but two mighty dog experts. Our first is Cara Armour. She is a professional dog trainer. She has a big resume. Let me get it all right. She's been trained by Karen Pryor. We're going to get into all her stuff in a moment. And she's got some beautiful, very talented boxers. The second half of the show, we're going to go to the dogs with Teody Anderson, also a very accomplished dog trainer and author. So let's just get this show started with a big old woof. Please join me in giving pause and applause to the amazing Cara Armour. She's a pretty good friend too. Hey, Cara, welcome to the show.
Arden, you are one of my favorite people. I am so glad to be here.
All right. Well, likewise. You know, we are climbing out of COVID. And I recently took a doggy vacay with my dogs, Kona and Emma. The drive was only an hour and 45 minutes, which is nothing compared to you. But what delight they had being in the back seat. Little Emma's in a little booster seat because she's little, and Kona's in a harness, you know, in a doggy bed. And we all had a great time. But I swear, I packed more for my dogs than I did for myself. So question number one, because you have literally logged more miles than Rand McNally. What is it? Do we usually have more stuff for our dogs than us?
Absolutely. Because we worry more about our pets than I think us sometimes. I have water in my van. I don't think about for me. It's for my dogs. I happen to have used it sometimes for myself, but it's always for the dogs.
So you have logged a lot of miles. Can you share maybe one of your longest trips and how many miles and how long you were gone with your beautiful boxers? And you need to shout out to them because they're listening. They're listening.
They are listening. They're making sure I don't disparage them in any way. I frequently 3 to 4 times a year travel down to Florida from Massachusetts.
Oh my God.
That is a solid 20-hour drive. And then I frequently, at least once a year, will head out to Indiana. So that's a 15-hour drive. Those are my long hauls, but I do a lot of 6 hours, 3 hours. And then every weekend, anything, you know, an hour plus is pretty normal.
An hour for you is like me going to the grocery store, right?
Yes, I do live a little secluded, but I like it because I needed land for my dogs.
So who are your beautiful boxers?
Well, I have Debbie, Walter, Phoenix, and Wendy.
Does Wendy take on a stage show with Peter Pan once in a while, or?
Pretty much. Okay. She actually has her own show. She's Wacky Wendy, Wild Wendy. She's a 10-month-old boxer puppy from German lines that I am introducing into my lines to add, believe it or not, more pizzazz.
More pizzazz. Now, I've never heard pizzazz and boxer in the same breath, but I'm going for it. So
I think they're synonymous.
I think, okay. She is a boxer, mega advocate. What is your vehicle? You mentioned a van, so give us the deets.
I have an incredibly reliable 2017 Toyota Sienna. It has been, I've had many vehicles. I put a lot of miles on other vehicles, and this van gets it done. Good. It's economical. It packs in everything. I have 4 crates in there so that my dogs are safe and secure. Yep. Plus I can get most of my stuff. Occasionally I have to do a rooftop carrier if the husband comes.
Okay, so rooftop carrier. I wanted to say rooftop carrier, but it is rooftop. I've done that before when I lived in California. I had to go places like Texas, and I just pray that I'm not so high up that on an overpass I lose it, or getting a drive-through I lose it. So what's the tip on putting anything on the rooftop? Well,
we put in most things that aren't valuable. We'll put some spare crates. Okay. We'll put our, human clothes, never the dog stuff. Dog stuff's always in the van.
Of course.
And mostly extra stuff that's not heat sensitive.
Okay.
right? Because it's a black box on top of a dark van in the middle of the sun. So
That's
we don't put valuables up there.
Do you? But at night, I'm assuming you take that off, right? Because burglars.
It actually locks. It locks.
Oh, it does. Okay. Okay. So you're safe. Okay. So inside your crate, I love how you sacrifice your clothing for your pets.
Mm-hmm.
How do you figure? I mean, what are some things you can help our listeners with? What are some must-haves? Obviously, water. Obviously, either a crate or secure. Like with Kona, Kona's only 30 pounds, so she's in a harness tethered to a seatbelt in a cushy bed in the back seat. My dog Emma, who's far smaller than any boxer adult that I know, she's only 9 pounds. I have learned, and maybe you can reinforce this, little dogs can get motion sickness if they are tethered on in a carrier or whatever. They can't look out the window. So
Correct.
if they're in a harness tethered in a booster seat where they can look high and mighty left and right, is that true? Because you're the dog trainer, not me.
It's 100% true. So just like humans, if our bodies and our eyes can't see the movement, our body doesn't understand, and therefore we can get motion sickness. That's why a lot of people will get it on a boat or a plane, and it's best to look out the window, sit in the front seat. So dogs are very much the same. If they're in a vehicle and it's moving and they can't see out, they have a tendency, some have a tendency to get car sickness. A lot of puppies start off that way, and most do grow out of it, some do not. But all of my dogs are on raised platforms, on crates, ratcheted down to the platforms, ratcheted down to bolts in the van. Yep.
Well, thank you, because small or big dogs all need to be able to look out the window.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and they need to say, "Are we almost there yet? Are we almost
Yes.
there yet? Are we almost there yet?" And I'm assuming that your fine boxer foursome, they may not all travel at the same time. Don't they kind of get a kick out of being in a car?
They do. They actually enjoy it quite a bit. I did. I was rear-ended. Everybody was fine. But we have had a couple times where my dogs had a little bit of associative fear because of an accident. And so I've worked through that with snuffle mats and licky mats. And I'm just going through that with my male. I was rear-ended a few months ago. And I noticed that when I would come to a slowing down off the highway, when I was rear-ended, he would start to shake. And so I started to, association. So anyways, we worked through that.
No, but this is a good tip. Don't get in and do a baby talk saying, "Oh no, we're going to go in the car. It's okay." Right. So what would you say to, would it be Walter?
It would be Walter.
Okay.
He got in the car fine. His association for getting in the car was completely okay. It was just certain movement. I had a former dog that we were rear-ended when the turn signal was on, or in Boston, we call it the blinker. And he would have an associative, he would start to shake when the blinker would go on. So now with Walter, it was slowing down. So I can't reach back into his crate while I'm driving. But what I did was I gave him a snuffle mat, which is, I always say that they're like a 70s shag rug.
Yeah. And I actually lived through that era. Thanks. Okay. Yeah.
I had a 70s shag rug. And so I sprinkle his kibble or treats in it, and it takes him longer. It enacts his olfactory sense and calms him down. And so we've worked through that fear with him.
Hey, everyone. We're speaking with Cara Armour, dog trainer, agility, medal ribbon winner extraordinaire. We're going to talk more with her about dog travel after we take this break. So you know the drill. Sit and stay. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. I got my pal here, Cara Armour. She's giving us some really great tips on how to travel safely with your dog, or 2 or 3 or 4. And she's done many, many miles. We've talked a little bit about the water and maybe using the roof if you have that option to give them a little more wiggle room, and safety harnesses, crates, things like that. I mean, the dogs are in the back, and they're not being able to say, "Oh, I see a blue car," or "Let's get all the states done," like you do with the kids. "I see Indiana, I see Kentucky." What do you do when it's one human and more than one dog to get them all kind of, you sing to them? What do? You can confess. Just don't worry, just millions of people are listening to you right now.
I definitely do sing. They listen to a lot of podcasts. Apparently they like murder mysteries. That's what they choose. They do. No, this is something I'm actually very conscious of. I'm for lack of a better word, long haul driver, and I could go forever, but I keep in mind that my dogs are in crates and they're appropriately sized. But they're not, they can't necessarily stretch their legs as well as they want. So every 3 to 4 hours, I am very conscientious about stopping.
Okay.
And then a tip that I do have, and I think this is important, especially now, we've had a lot of kennel cough going around. We've had a lot of kind of just icky, you get too many dogs together. The South has been very great about having dog parks at many rest stops, but I actually avoid those. I pull off the highway and I go to places. This is funny. I look for dandelions. I look for weeds.
Dandelions.
I look for
dandelions in my backyard.
I know.
You like them.
I know, but listen to me on this. So boxers are prone to cancer. Many breeds are, and so I'm very careful about that. And so I look for places that are not visited by a lot of dogs and not treated with a lot of chemicals.
Oh,
so a lot of times behind strip malls off to that side they don't care about, or a new pad site. Those are really good places to stop. To let my dogs out. Then I don't have to worry, because my dogs, especially in the spring, they love to eat the little tips of the cool grass. And so I just want to be careful about because I don't know if I stop through 6 states, I don't know where they picked up something that gave them tummy trouble. Right. So I try and reduce that as much as possible.
That is such a brilliant tip, because I have gone to 13 states. I'm going to be going to Minnesota in July from Dallas. I always felt queasy when I had to let them go potty breaks when I go to a rest stop, because I'm like, oh. So I think what I might do is the Cara Armour method. I might take them, stop, and let them go do their little thing, and maybe then they'll be in the car while I go in a rest stop. And I promise not to roll around in the doggy area.
Well, I travel the 95 corridor a lot, and those rest stops, I'm grateful for them, but they get icky. They're overused. Not everybody's a responsible dog owner, so there's stuff left behind.
Landmines that stink. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and even I take 90 all the way out to my parents' house in Ohio a lot, and the rest stops there. Although there is one in New York that is unbelievable. I remember
that one. People might be listening.
I believe it's definitely in the Mohawk Valley. I'll have to get you the name, but
that's okay.
It's one of my favorite. I wish it were actually a little further out, because it's only 2.5 hours from my, the start of my ride. But I stop there all the time.
Yeah.
It's along an Erie lock, along the Erie Canal, and it's just picturesque. It's always clean. The bathrooms are phenomenal. So yeah, I actually pick, I pick spots. I traveled during COVID. I've traveled during the gas crisis.
Okay.
And so you have to get creative when the pipeline was shut down.
Yeah.
You have to get creative where you stop. And so a lot of times I'll pull over safely at one stop and I'll look ahead. I found this amazing trail, again in New York, that paralleled a disc golf field.
Oh, I thought you said disco. Okay, but a disc golf. Okay.
Disc golf field. And it was a good half-hour walk. It was a beautiful day. It was shaded. All the trees were labeled, so you knew the greenery. It was just, I find all these little things, and then I actually take screenshots and I store them in the notes of my phone for when I travel on certain routes.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. All right. What about chow? I know you talked a little bit about Walter with the snuffle mat. I bring food. I want to bring bottled water because I don't trust hotel stays or anything. I don't want giardia. I don't want, doggy diarrhea at 3 a.m. in the hotel. Can you talk about some tips on what to bring and how to bring it? And I know different people have different food choices. So what's your take?
Sure. So I always have my trusty cooler. I have a water cooler that fits like perfectly in this little nook in the back of the van. I always carry water buckets.
Okay.
They tend to rattle when you clip them to the crate. So my husband has rubberized them.
Oh, Jared, you're the best.
He is the best.
See, we got your husband's name in here too.
Yeah. And it allows us to we'll put about 1/4 to 3/4 inches of water in there. So they can wet their palate, but not so it's sloshing all over the place. And generally on the highway, but you hit a turn we've had some water spills. Yeah. And then for food, I do feed, a frozen raw diet. And so what I do is I actually put them in Ziploc baggies, and we call them flats. Okay. We prepare them and we flatten them. So they fit into a cooler very easily, which fits underneath one of the crates. It has its own little home.
Wow.
And you just have to think ahead, right? If you feed food that needs hydrated, you need to leave out a portion so you can get it ready. Because usually we're traveling either through dinner time. I'll try and push my dogs. If we're going to get there at 8, I'll let them go till 8. But if I'm going to go any longer, I will stop on the side of the road and I will feed everybody. But
yes,
I have baby wipes to clean their bowls. I have hand sanitizer. I'm a traveling sink.
Oh my gosh. So what do you think, what are the benefits as a professional dog trainer when a dog gets the opportunity to get out of their same neighborhood, same sidewalk, blah, 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 and get the chance to new sights, sounds, and smells?
I think it's just enrichment and stimulation. My dogs, I open the hatch every single time or the side doors and they're like, where are we now? What's going on? How's this? And they air scent, they take in the air, and that's where they get a lot of their information. So I think it's a lot of fun. Even I always tell people when they have puppies, and you have to be careful when they haven't had all their shots and their immune systems are low, they can still go on car rides. They can still go to Home Depot. You can carry them. You can put them in the cart.
Yeah.
Just seeing things. Everyone thinks socialization is bringing your dog to a park and letting them meet all these other parks, but socialization is exposure to new social environments.
Exactly.
And so I really encourage people to take their dogs out and about to places that dogs are allowed. And if you have a question, just call the store manager. And I don't know, my dogs love it. If we've had terribly hot days and my dogs are bored on the treadmill because I cannot run boxers when it's super hot, we'll go for car rides.
I like it.
Right?
I like it.
They get to see the countryside during COVID when everything was pretty much shut down. We went for a lot of car rides. We stayed within our state and we actually found some castles and great places to hike. So I think it's a great way to stimulate and enrich your dogs.
I love it. I love it. Hey, everyone, we're speaking with Cara Armour. We just got a few seconds left. But Cara, how do people find out about you? Where can we track you down, sniff you out?
Probably the best place is either Facebook or my company website, which is getactivepaws.com. And I love to travel with my dogs and let them see the world as much as they can.
Hey, everybody, give a little pause and applause to Cara Armour. She's getting it done with not one, but several boxers going up and down the 95 corridor. For all my East Coast loyal listeners, you guys know that drive. And she gave you some tips, too. So don't worry about finding where Waldo is. Just have a safe trip with your dog. And we're going to come back after this break, and we're going to talk to Teody Anderson, and she's got some things to share about dog training tips. So everybody just sit and stay. We'll be right back.
Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life.
Four-Legged Life.
Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content.
Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life.